Tonight, government rules out scrapping e-levy, insisting that the current revenue pressures will make it difficult.
Every government policy, after some time, it is looked at, it is reviewed. But as we speak now, one, the e-levy was passed late. We were hoping to have begun that in February. We began in May.
Also, banking consultant Ayitey Champon describes the Bank of Ghana's resolve to keep the policy rate unchanged at 19% as prudent in dealing with inflationary pressures.
I think it's the right decision that they have taken. And if you followed his train of events, there has been some signs of inflation taming itself, both internationally and then reflect nationally.
Plus, Ghana Exim Bank to invest $10 million in yam exportation. We'll hear from its chief executive, Lawrence Ajinsa.
Exim Bank is prepared to be by their side in supporting them with an amount of 10 million going forward to help them in their pre-shipment, post-shipment.
All these stories and more coming shortly. Do stay with us. Ayitey. Tonight, government has indicated that it has no intention of scrapping the e-levy despite revising all its fiscal targets. The finance minister in the mid-year review revised downward the revenue and expenditure target for the end of this year. This has reignited calls for the controversial e-levy to be abolished to bring some relief to Ghanaians. But Deputy Minister of Finance Abinel Sari noted that the timing is not right. She's been speaking on this plus other issues about confidence restoration post-mid-year presentation with my colleague George Rafi.
This discipline started at the beginning of the year when we announced initially a 20% cut, and then in March with the Russian-Ukraine war and the slow recovery of the with every government policy, after some time, it is looked at, it is reviewed. But as we speak now, one, the e-levy was passed late. We were hoping to have begun that in February. We began in May. And then we did lots of stakeholder consultations, and all these consultations were factored into the final product of the e-levy. So currently, as we speak, we gave some huge exemptions. And that, in a way, has also affected the inflows that are coming in. But government says, let us see how it goes within this year, and then government can come up with any reviews that it wants to review.
What went into this projection? I mean, does it mean that the harvest season is not going to impact it, and even what you're doing now would not impact on inflation?
George, you know, there are lots of factors that are coming into play when it comes to inflation. Some are things that we can manage ourselves. Others are things that it's not within our control, like the prices of fuel on the world markets. It's not within our control. But what government can do, we don't want to be overambitious, but what we can do is to contain it. You heard the finance minister saying that we are thinking of coming up with some form of food haulage where we help the farmers cut their goods, their food to the urban centers, and we believe that in a way would help reduce the cost of food in a way. And then also, let's all admit that currently, as we speak, inflation is around 29.8%. So to come up with anything other than what we have come up with will not be sort of realistic, looking at the circumstances in which we find ourselves now. But like I said, government is putting all the measures in place to make sure we try and achieve some growth, and that would, in the long run, affect things positively.
One critical thing has to do with investor confidence and also the business community as well. Some were worried about your rising debt. You've tried to rein in. Do you think that what you've done with this mid-year estimates would deal with that challenge about the uncertainty and about the investor confidence?
Oh, I believe that certainly it tells the investors that, yes, we said we were going to embark on some contraction, and clearly in the middle of the year, they have seen it. So whatever we say we're putting in place to boost investor confidence, and that is what we are doing. I'm sure they'll be very, very happy. We are hoping that our revenue numbers will go up, and we are also hoping that we will contain expenditures and be able to meet our critical payments. And for them, that is what brings them the confidence that when the time is due, we'll be able to meet our critical payments. And so that is what we are working on.
The Bank of Ghana has assured that it is working to significantly shore up the country's international reserves before the end of this year. The governor, Dr. Ayitey, gave the assurance after announcing the policy rate, which was kept unchanged at 19%. George Rafi has more.
Ghana's international reserves ending June stood at $7.6 billion. However, when it comes to actual cash available or on net basis, the figure stands at $3.5 billion. This has led to concerns that the situation could get worse soon, looking at the current environment. But the governor of the Bank of Ghana maintains that the reserves should pick up strongly in the coming months.
The numbers for me do not suggest that that would necessarily negatively affect our current level of reserves. As you are all aware, there has been an attempt to get some more foreign exchange from the loan which has just been passed by Parliament, 750 million, which hopefully should be coming in. And in the last quarter of the year, we are also expecting the annual cocoa syndication, hopefully this time 1.5 billion. If those transactions are concluded, that should also help to shore up the reserves of the central bank. So the outlook for reserves, I believe, are quite stable at this point.
Dr. Ernest Addison was quick to add policies on inflation rate have been effective, hence the rate of increase slowing.
We have seen a consistent decline in the monthly inflation rates. So we are convinced that the monetary policy actions that we have taken have had an effect, and we are seeing the rate of inflation, the pace at which inflation is going up, declining. That's very important. And therefore, we think that if we have not peaked, we probably should be peaking soon.
On calls that the e-levy should be scrapped, this is what the governor had to say.
I don't think that it is time to scrap the e-levy. I think that the discussions that I've been privy to has been on the level of exemptions granted under the e-levy law. So I know that there is some work which is currently ongoing to relook at those exemptions, and hopefully when that work is completed, the levy would bring in more resources.
The governor has also been speaking about the recent ruling on GN Bank.
What I hear, the arbitration center has not even been established. In any case, for us, the receiver is continuing with his work. Since the license was revoked, the receiver has been at work trying to realize assets from GN Bank's assets, because we've paid most of the depositors of GN Bank. And the receiver has had to go in and try to retrieve, those that are indebted to the bank in terms of some of the loans that have been given up, as well as, realize value from the assets of the bank. So the important thing is that the receiver has continued to, what's the word, resolve that institution. The resolution process has continued.
Dr. Ernest Addison maintained that keeping the policy rate unchanged should not affect efforts by government to raise funds on the bond market.
A banking consultant, Nanotua Champon, has described the sustained policy rate as a prudent decision. Some have questioned the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana's decision to keep the rate unchanged, but Nanotua Champon says it is in the right direction.
I think it's the right decision that they have taken. And if you followed his train of events, there has been some signs of inflation taming itself. Both internationally and then reflect nationally. So it is right that it has been maintained to at least continue the downward trend for the cost of the use of money.
Do you think that it will bring any relief to these commercial banks, or even when it comes to the cost of credit space?
Sure, it should bring some relief because if you listen to the statistics, between 2021 and 2022, advancement or loans to the private sector have increased, and therefore, in spite of interest rate rising, which means that there's a demand for the use of money for productive activities. So maintaining the rate will bring a desired relief to the private sector for them to continue borrowing, or at least maintain what they have borrowed to bring in productive activity. So it is a very good decision. It also brings some confidence to the sectors as to how the economy is being managed on top of the IMF's intervention, because the IMF one brings confidence for the international market, but for the local market, you need issues like the decision that the MPC has taken to bring confidence into the market. So it is a confidence booster.
Now, MD of insurance firm Sanlam, Mabel Nyakoa Pobley, is making a strong case for a review in marketing insurance to deal with penetration issues. Insurance growth in the country is still low, and despite several regulatory measures. But speaking to Joy Business after the launch of their insurance business in Ghana, Madam Pobley says insurance should be sold as a social product.
The objective or the strategic undertakings of Sanlam is to empower generations and communities. So we don't always only look at our business, because without the community, we don't have a business. And so we always look at what do we do for the community to thrive so that our businesses will thrive. And in so doing, and especially for the Ghanaian market, I think one of the areas that we need to look at is to change how we have publicized insurance to more a social marketing agenda, where people now start to see how insurance fits in their day-to-day lifestyles, how an insurance payout, because by the way, when we sell a policy, what we are really selling is a claim at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So how people see how that claim impacts their lives on a day-to-day, on a day-to-day, and by so doing, they now feel the need to do it. If I see that insurance company, that insurance product I have bought is what is going to look after my child when I am not there anymore, and I can do it on a regular basis, it gives me a lot more relevance than when I see it as so far away. If I can buy my motor policy every day by paying 1 cedi a day on a regular basis, then I don't see it as too big. And I know that when I have a motor accident, I still have something, even though I didn't have the full amount to pay on a regular day. So we need to really change how we have positioned insurance in this market and make it more about financial planning, about how is insurance part of how I plan my finances. At the end of the month, I pay my rent. I budget for food, I budget for school fees, I budget. How is it that I don't budget for something that will look after me when the worst happens? And that's how we should change the positioning of insurance.
And Ghana Exim Bank is to invest $10 million into yam exploitation. We will hear from its Chief Executive, Lawrence Jinsam, after this break. Just stay with us.
Exim Bank is prepared to be by their side in supporting them with an amount of 10 million going forward to help them in their pre-shipment, post-shipment.
Now, the Ghana Exim Bank has said it will invest $10 million into the exportation of yam. Ghana in 2021 emerged as the highest exporter of yam within the sub-region. To maintain this feat, though, the chief executive of the Ghana Exim Bank, Lawrence Agenta, explains that his outfit will support the entire value chain of yam production to boost productivity within the sector and expand the Ghanaian economy. He was speaking at the Ghana Exim Bank Stakeholder Consultative Forum on yam exports.
West Africa produces the most yams globally, and Nigeria tops the chart with about 67% of global yam production, dwarfing Ghana's 10%. Yet, Ghana contributed 94% of the total yams exported from West Africa and 22% of global exports in 2019. Exports of yam tubers reached a record high of $48 million, making the country the world's largest exporter of yam. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Exim Bank, Lawrence Agenta, the bank will financially support the growth of the sector to fend off competition from other countries.
The yam producers have been able to achieve a feat in this country by becoming #1 in the world, as per the 2021 export figures. They need to maintain that leadership of becoming #1 in the world. And to do that, Exim Bank is prepared to be by their side in supporting them with an amount of 10 million going forward to help them in their pre-shipment, post-shipment, working capital, and thereby make Ghana be able to sustain that leadership going forward into 2022-2023, so that we ward off competition that may come from Jamaica or Nigeria. The money is already we are financing some of the exporters. So it is just today that I needed to tell them that we will be able to continue to support them. So they should come and approach us in line with our national export strategy. This is a target market already. We just met with the yam exporters. So this is for the yam exporters, and we've already picked their database, and then they will go and see our export trade desk. There they will begin to then have deliberation and assess the facility.
Jamaica is Ghana's closest competitor, ranking second in the export of yam. Its total exports were valued at $39 million in 2021. The global yam market is projected to register a compound annual growth rate of 3.5% between 2020 and 2025.
Now, less than 30% of engineers in Ghana are women, and the deficit continues to linger on despite efforts by government and civil society to make the male-dominated field gender-friendly. In tackling this challenge, the Women in Engineering, together with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, will be mentoring a host of female students in engineering to mark Africa's Women's Day this week. And of course, ahead of this intervention, I sat with a group of one of Ghana's leading female engineers to discuss the import of this program. Here's more.
We realized the need to showcase outstanding female women in engineering. Okay. And at the same time, too, we want to use it as a mentoring opportunity to meet with or to interact with female engineering students in the northern part, from the northern part of the country. Okay. We've had a program in the past, some programs in the past, where we've targeted the southern students in the southern part of the country. This time we want to go to the northern part of the country. So we've targeted some university students, female university students in the northern part of the countries for universities.
From wine, or from where do we see the role of women in engineers? I just see an expansion, because this COVID, everybody had to get access to the internet. Everybody had to connect to others. And you were seeing more girls who originally didn't have the opportunity or were exposed to these, some of these innovations, being exposed to it now and getting an affinity and an interest for it. At the moment, even within GHIE, we know that even the number of women engineers compared to the men is really, really small. But we know that in the next 5-10 years, with the work that we are doing, with the advocacy we're doing, with the working with the institutions, working with universities, that we will see that drive and we will see that increase of women taking more engineering roles as well.
To add to the virtual aspect of it, there are also a lot of courses now that are being offered virtually, where in the old previous situation, women wouldn't be able to leave their homes or leave their workplaces and go and take these courses. But now we have the opportunity to take these courses online, get the degrees we need, and then move on and forge forward.
I will see how that pans out. I'm Charles Ayitey. That'll be it for Business Live. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.